Yo, you guys, this is Blacklist to the Abyss, and you're watching my review for the Irregular Magic High School, aka Mahoka Kokonori Tose, Episode 5. Alright? And this one starts off with Tatsuya and Mizuki working on their practical skills during, I guess you could call it class? I guess you would call it class, yeah. So they're working on their practical skills in class, alright? And Mizuki asks Tatsuya how he feels about being strong, yet being treated like he's weak. Okay? So they're really trying to hammer this point home, right? So if you haven't gotten it yet, then he should have at this point, right? They're really trying to hammer home the fact that they have this idea of what strength is, but there are other ways to be strong that you might not be thinking of. Okay, so your definition of strength might not be as correct as you think it is. So that whole notion is being pushed here. All right, but Tatsuya, he's he's being himself, and he's like, oh well, they're not that far off from the truth. I'm really not that good. I mean, it did take me 3 tries to clear this exercise, and I barely cleared it. So their opinion is for the most part right. All right, and Mizuki's like, no, no, it's not because I just saw you with my eyes. All right, he just completely you created the magic sequence without the activation sequence. All right, so she's using her eyes, and she almost stumbled onto another one of his secrets. Okay, because think about it, if you can create a magic sequence without an activation sequence, and that saves you time. All right, and as we learned here, mil, 1 millisecond can be the difference between winning and losing, between living and dying. Okay, speed is everything. All right, it took Tatsuya what 900 some milliseconds. Okay, but if he can use magic without actually going through the activation sequence, then that will save him time. And I'm not talking about like 3 milliseconds. I'm talking about like maybe even like 100 or so. All right, so that's that's a big deal. Right, that is an actual big deal. All right, and Tati gave this explanation about it doesn't really matter actually. He used this example of like an egg and the amount of processes that he can do. Don't worry about it. Seriously, like don't worry, don't worry about it. Right? If it was like the most important thing ever, then I would explain it, but it's not. So don't worry. It's real. Like I know it sounds weird saying that explanations and part of the magic system aren't necessary to understand, but like legit, like I'm being serious. Like don't worry about it. All right. He can say he can do 5 processes all he wants, but that's not it. No, don't worry. Just don't worry. All right. It's yeah. Just just don't worry. So what after he has that explanation, one of the things he mentions is that his goal is to develop energy using magic. All right, and I'll get to that a little bit later because there was a scene during his talk with Sayaka that the anime skipped over. All right, but so yeah, I'll get to that later. But after he says that, Mizuki kind of gets inspired by that and says that she wants to kind of create a goal for herself as well, because the only reason she even went to first time in the first place is to learn how to control her eyes. But then after hearing about what Tatsuya wants to do, she realized, oh well, that's kind of a lame goal for myself. I should try and do something more than that. And she ends up going off on this monologue, and like she gets the attention of like everyone there, and Eric has to come over, get her to calm down a little bit, right? And during a little inner monologue, Tatsuya ends up revealing that he was forced to become a magician, even though he can't use magic. All right, and when he says that, we see this person, this woman, all right, made her my thumbnail, okay, and you're thinking, who is this woman? All right, and I could give you hints, but I don't want to because I don't want to say I don't want to say too much and just give it away. So I'm just not going to say anything about it. What I will talk about though is how they skipped a scene that happened after this in the light novel, which was very disappointing because like as you saw, Erica was there, but she was working on the same exercise with Leo. All right, and they just could not get below 1,000 milliseconds because that's the goal here, to get below 1,000. All right, and they just couldn't do it. So Tatsuya ended up going over and helping them. And once he gave them advice, they were able to do it. All right, And during this time, Miyuki came over. Honoka and Shizuku, they came over too, right? Which I don't know. We've barely seen any of Honoka and Shizuku. So, of Shizuku, I mean Shizuku. I sound like a freaking English dub. Uh, they there's they haven't shown up that much, so you would think that they would take advantage of the scene that they do show up in to get us used to that and like their personalities, their characters, and stuff like that. But no, they just skipped over it. Um, and another thing that we would have learned in that scene is that Erica's family runs a dojo at their house, right? The Chiba family, they run a dojo, which is why you see Erica in the opening with a freaking kendo sword, and why in episode 1, episode 2, one of those, where she took out, well, she didn't take out Morisaki, but she had like the staff thing, or the wand the wand CAD, and she just went and like took out Morisaki's gun and stuff like that. So that's why she's like that, because her family runs a dojo, so she's very, very skilled in swordsmanship. Okay, which is why it's going to be interesting seeing her fight against Sayaka in the next episode, because it's going to be awesome. And don't think of that as a spoiler, because the opening already spoiled it for you 4 times already. So literally, they told you 4 times already. So me saying it doesn't mean anything at this point. But the reason why Erica's dojo ended up coming up is because they were talking about how the school works, and how they look at the best people and say, okay, now you are going to get that teaching, you're going to get that direction, all right? And Erica's dojo actually works the same way. Therefore, she doesn't have a problem with it. And she was talking about how if you're not good with the sword, you can't. She was talking about how you can't just walk into a dojo and expect to get lessons like that. You have to prove yourself first, and then they'll say, okay, we'll teach you now, all right? And she was also and one of the other things she talked about, which ended up being really funny, is that how how sometimes what happens is that the tutor is too skilled for the person being tutored, and on rare occasions it's actually flipped, where the person being tutored is actually it's actually better than the one doing the tutoring. And then she said like that would be a disaster, which is when Tatsuya stepped in and he was like, oh, I guess we just had a disaster, since your time when the exercise ended up being 100 milliseconds faster than mine. She was like, huh? Oh, well, you see, that's not what I meant. You see, what I really meant was, and then she tried to like go off and make the situation better. It was hilarious. So it was disappointing that they didn't put that in there, but oh well. Also, Miyuki, when she was there, she ended up doing the exercise as well for them, because they were curious as to how good she was. And when she did it, she ended up completing it in 235 milliseconds, which is so much faster than everyone else. They were struggling, and they were barely able to get below 1,000. And she comes in there easy peasy lemon freaking squeezy, and she just gets 235. So Miyuki is clearly in a league of her own here. She's just that skilled. Even Honoka and Shizuku were like, "What? How could she do this?" All right. So that was funny. It's unfortunate that they skipped over it. But after that scene, we end up seeing the scene with Tatsuya talking with Sayaka, and Sayaka is going to give her answer. And in the light novels, it was revealed that someone was actually watching them that entire time. And Tatsuya sensed that person, but he didn't say anything about it because they were in the middle of a public place in a school, so he didn't want to cause a scene. But another thing that happened in the light novels is that before they really got to talking, Mari actually came over. And she wasn't the person who was observing them or anything like that, so don't worry about that. But Mari actually ended up coming over, and they talked a little bit, and then she ended up leaving. And as Mari was leaving, Sayaka gave her this look, and you could tell Sayaka is not a big fan of Mari. She just does not like her very much. Okay, so that was important. They should have showed that. But oh well, they did a little over 2 volumes in this not 2 volumes, 2 chapters in this episode. So they're really trying to finish it by next episode. I'm not sure if they'll be able to do it though, because there is a decent amount left. There's still another 3 chapters, and one of them is kind of short, but still it'll be difficult. They might be able to do it, but I don't know. Well, anyway, after that, the actual conversation that we saw ends up starting. And Sayaka's bringing up all these points, but none of them make any sense. So Tatsuya counters everything like that. All right, and he mentions that her expectations for the school are are too high, and that all he expects from the school is to learn some things and to get access to unpublished documents. Okay, unpublished documents, and the reason he wanted access to those documents is because of his goal of creating energy, which is what he mentions in the light novels. He said that his goal is to create a gravity control type thermonuclear fusion reactor. Okay? Which is, let me say that one more time, a gravity control type thermonuclear fusion reactor. All right? And that is one of what is known as the three great puzzles of weight systematic magic. Okay, so there are three great puzzles, and that thermonuclear fusion reactor is one of them. So they're the things that people think of as just being impossible. Another one is flight type magic, magic that allows you to fly, and another one is like perpetual motion or something like that by magic. I don't remember, but don't worry about it. That won't come up until like a while from now, so not in this season. So don't worry about it. Well, never mind. Never mind. You'll get to it when you get to it. All right, we'll get there. But yeah. So after that, he just gets up and leaves because he realizes that Sayaka just has no clue what she's freaking talking about. All right. And even though she knows she has no clue what she's talking about, she still goes and does what she does the next day, which together with all the Eagle-Eye students, they go and they just take over the broadcasting room, which was freaking stupid on their part. It's a criminal act, and they did it anyway, and it made no freaking sense. They were stupid, and Tatsuya made them out to look stupid too. Tatsuya, man, this dude has no mercy. He went up there, he got Jumonji's opinion, he got Suzune's opinion, he was like, alright. He got out his phone, he called Sayaka, he's like, yeah, you're in the broadcasting room, aren't you? And she's like, yep. He's like, oh, Jesus Christ, that's unfortunate. Oh, okay, well, here's what we'll do, alright? If you open the door, if you come out, Jumonji and the student council, they've agreed to negotiate. There we go. The word escaped me for a second. They've agreed to negotiate. And as a matter of fact, we'll even guarantee your freedom and your safety. Okay, so they're like, all right, sure. Then they open the door, and then Tatsu's like, yeah, we better prepare, man. We better prepare to arrest them all. And that's exactly what they do. They go and just arrest them all. It's hilarious. And Mari was like, oh, you realize you just guaranteed their freedom, right? And Tatsu was like, well, actually, I only guaranteed the freedom of Sayaka Mibu. I didn't say anything about anyone else. And as a matter of fact, I never said I was negotiating on behalf of the student council, the club management group, or anyone else for that matter. All right? So that's her fault. That's her fault for being stupid. Right? And Miyuki was like, man, you are evil. And Tatsu was like, hey, you're just now figuring this out? So that was funny. That was an awesome scene. Probably one of my favorite scenes in the entire episode. Right, but after that, Mayumi ends up showing up, and she kind of just lets them all go. She takes over from there and says, the student council, specifically me, all right, I'm going to handle everything from here on out. And she ends up meeting with all of them and talks his breakdown. So they end up holding this forum where she kind of just she just completely wrecks them. She wrecked them. She used logic, and she dropped a bombshell announcement which pretty much stole all the support that they could have hoped to have. All right, of course, 2 students, of course, 1 students, they were all for Mayumi, and none of them gave a crap about the Eagle-Eye guys anymore. But before I get into the details of how the episode ended, I should probably talk about what happened before that. How Tsukasa Kinoue, all right, Kinoue Tsukasa, this dude actually went up to Mizuki and tried to pull her over to his side, using his own hypersensitivity, which he has as well. All right, but Tatsuya came over, pushed him away. All right, and he realized that Tsukasa was actually the same person who attacked him during Club Recruitment Week. So yeah. Now after that scene, Tatsuya decides to go get some information about Tsukasa. So he goes to Yakumo. Alright, he goes to Yakumo. And this dude knows everything there is to know about anyone with a questionable past, alright, including Tsukasa. So Tatsuya and Miyuki, they're like, wait, so does that mean you know about us too? And he's like, I wish, but yo, dude, that Yatsuba clan keeps a tight lid on like everything involving you two, all right? So I wish I could figure stuff out, but I can't. I can't get around those dudes, all right? The form, actually, no, let me not even say that. I might have, I accidentally almost spoiled something. Well, it's not really. If you know what Yatsuba means, then it's not a spoiler at all because you've already figured it out by now. But whatever, I just won't say it. Whatever. Where was where was oh yeah, um oh yeah, so Tatsuya and Miyuki went to Yakumo for information, and Yakumo mentioned that it might have helped Tatsuya out more if they went to go ask Kazuma instead of him, especially since he has the daughter of the Fujibayashi family with him. Alright, and unfortunately they didn't include that in the anime. They should have because they're important people in the story, and that was an important name drop, a couple important name drops, but they didn't. Why? I don't know, because I don't know. Alright, but they should have. Right? Yakumo ended up saying that stuff first, alright? And also they also referred to him as Colonel. Alright, Yakumo said that asking the Colonel wouldn't go over well with his aunt. Okay, with Tatsuya's aunt and Miyuki's aunt, because it's siblings, but whatever. Um, but yeah, so that was stuff that they skipped over too. I don't know why they skipped over it. Because they really want to finish this this arc in 6 episodes so they can get to the 9 schools competition. Maybe Yokohama, maybe Reminiscence, whatever, however it's pronounced. You would think an American would actually know English, but apparently we don't. um, but eventually they do, in fact, end up getting to talking about Tsukasa Kinoue. And it turns out that his stepbrother, Hajime, is the leader of the Japan branch of Blanche. What? The Japan branch of Blanche. Wow. That's funny. How did I not notice that before? Oh, well, whatever. All right, so yeah, so this dude Hajime is a bad dude. All right, he's a bad guy, and we see him after the scene giving rings to Sayaka and a bunch of other people. Now, what are these rings? Let me just tell you. All right. Oh no, I'm not going to actually tell you, but I mean, let me just tell you this. I should say. One of the things that this series does exceptionally well is building things up and hinting at them without you even realizing that it's building things up and hinting at them. Okay? So, what those rings are, it's already been hinted at before. Alright, so I won't say anything else other than that. You'll have to figure the rest out on your own. I don't want to just tell you everything, even though it's technically my job. But not, as far as spoilers go, I shouldn't just tell you everything. So, there. But he ends up giving them rings. Alright, and then the next day, at the open forum, that's when Blanche makes their move. Alright, Mayumi ended up revealing her plan that she wants to get rid of that whole only Course 1 students can join the student council thing. Alright, so that at the general election for the next student council president, that's going to be up for vote as well. Right, and as soon as she announced that, that's when she got support from pretty much everybody. Alright, the Course 1 students supported her because she was pretty much crapping on the other guys. And the Course 2 students supported her because they can join the student council now. Which they won't because half of them aren't skilled enough to do so, that's why they're Course 2 students. However, a lot of them are skilled enough to do so, such as Tatsuya, and Erika, and Leo, I guess. Yeah, he's good. And Mikihiko too. Mikihiko's awesome. Unfortunately, we've only gotten like one quick glance of him, but don't worry, he'll show up eventually. Like in the next couple episodes or so. Like in 2 or 3 episodes from now. But yeah, so after Mayumi steals the support away from everyone, that's when Blanche officially makes their move. Because they knew they lost at that point, so they just decided to get violent, alright? These dudes had gas bombs, they had guns, they had freaking rocket launchers, okay? These guys had it all. Jumping up out of trucks and stuff with all this, like, gear on. They were just shooting everywhere, blowing up buildings and crap. I'm like, yo, these dudes are serious, man. But, dude, so was First High. Those dudes weren't playing around either. Hatori came in. Boom. Mari came in. Boom. Nitrogen inside the mask. Tatsu came in. Boom, forced this guy onto the ground like he was freaking Kirihara. broken collarbone and everything, probably. All right, so these guys are serious, all right, and it looks like a battlefield outside. But First High is not just going to sit there and let them do this, all right. So Tatsuya and Miyuki, they need to go check out the practical skills room because that's where the explosion was. And yeah, that's how the episode ends, which was very annoying because I literally no one wanted the episode to end there. They wanted it to keep going, but I can't help but think that maybe if they had included the stuff that they shouldn't have skipped, then maybe the cliffhanger wouldn't have been as bad. But oh well. And either way, the next episode is going to be awesome. I'm assuming they're going to try and fit the rest of the arc in the next episode, even though it's going to be hard to, because we have to finish up what's going on here at the school, while also having the final part of the arc, which involves Hajime Tsukasa himself. So it'll be a tight fit, but but they might get it all in one episode. So then after that, with any luck, the Nine Schools competition will start after that, and yeah. As far as this episode goes, let's see here. There was a lot of build. The way the episode ended was really awesome. It really was, because it really makes me look forward to next week. I'll give the episode an 8.5 out of 10. How about that? 8.5 out of 10. The way the episode ended, plus the scenes with Sayaka in there, then the whole taking over the broadcast room, the open forum of mine. I thought it was a pretty good episode, slightly better than good. So I'll give it, yeah, an 8.5 out of 10, and that's that, you guys. My live reaction probably isn't going to be as long as it usually is because I didn't react as much as I do normally because it was mostly talking in this episode, and it was stuff I already knew since I read the light novels. So it was hard to like react as much as I normally would. But yeah, I'll put my live reaction after this, and that's that, you guys. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Stop digging. Better stop digging. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. More hints. Uh-oh. There we go. There we go. How? What conditions and how? Be more specific. So now she's trying to change the subject. Ouch. Uh-oh. Here we go. Here we go. He's so awesome. He's so sneaky. And now you realize it. Oh, she's finally here. Now she's shutting them out. But how? Yes, exactly. They haven't figured out how they want to change things. Tsukasa. Tsukasa was the one who attacked him last week. This is how he gets half his information, probably. Yakumo's in the know, man. Dude is in the know, man. That's because of the freaking Yatsuba clan, that's why. The Yatsuba stay on top of stuff like that. Uh-oh, there he is. The other Tsukasa. Uh-oh. 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 Yo, I can't wait. They're gonna end the episode off before it happens, too. See, you don't mess with Mayumi. You need to know, you don't pick a fight with her. Magic or verbal. Just don't do it. Now even all the course 2 students support her, so now these Blanche and Eagle-Eye guys are done. They have no support anymore. See, look at them. Now they resort to this. Got them rings, now they want to go fight. They think they can win when they can't. Nice. Hey, he can do something right, even if he gets his butt kicked by Tatsuya. Guns. Mm. Yeah, these dudes are serious, man. Dang. Jesus Christ. Don't end it. Don't always end it at like the worst possible moment. Not much reaction since most of it was talk, but oh well. See you guys next time.